Hi, Year 10. Big thank you to Mrs. Turner for taking our lesson for me last week. Unfortunately for you, I'm back now. So, um, Mrs. Turner took you through the notes on reflection. So that video she linked with the girl doing the practical, very, very good. We would have been doing, well, this year we probably wouldn't have been doing the practical, but normally you would have been doing that practical in class. If you go on to do GCSE physics, you will obviously get to do it then. Okay, so I'll be having a wee look through to check that your page 61 and 62 are all filled out correctly. I will probably have done that by the time this lesson goes up. And then just make sure that you have filled in the answer to this question here, because this is a really important fact. Okay, so when we have light and it's reflecting in a plane mirror, which means a flat mirror, the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. So just remind you what all those words mean, okay, because it's going to come up in the questions you're doing today. So if we had a mirror sitting here and we shone a ray of light in towards here, the one that's going into the situation is called the incident ray. It's going to reflect off the mirror, and that's called the reflected ray. Now, Mrs. Turner talked you through how this little imaginary line, the normal, all angles are measured from there, okay? That is one of the most important things to remember in this topic. People forget it all the time, okay? So if we add that in, all angles measured from the normal. And questions will try and catch you out. They'll give you the angle to the mirror and then you'll need to use the one to the normal. Okay, so the terminology that we're using here, incident for going in, that means that the angle that it goes in at measured to the normal is called the angle of incidence, and then the reflected ray has an angle of reflection. So if you have a plane mirror and you have light reflecting off these two angles are going to be equal to each other. Okay, so that's basically the work from last week recapped there. What you can do is give the wee demo on page 65 a go. Okay, so if you have a candle and you're supposed to have a sheet of glass, you could use a window in your house, right? You're not going to have a beaker at home, but you might have a glass, and then you can put a glass of water on one side of the window, and then you can have a candle, or I suppose even maybe a wee torch or something that's emitting light, and then you can position it so that it looks like the candle is inside the glass. So that's one that you can give a little go to. Okay, now over on page 66, this is another thing that you might be able to give a go at home. If you place two mirrors, like, so say my ruler here was a mirror, I would set it like this, so perpendicular with the surface, set another one here, and then they would be at 90 degrees. Then if you set an object just in between them, and then if you get down eye level so that you're looking directly at the mirrors, have a look and see how many reflections of that one object you can see in the mirrors. And then change the angle to 120, so that this angle here they're talking about, and then to 60, and list the number of images. So if you get that done, fill in these wee bits down here for me. Okay, so let's have a wee look at these questions on 67. These I think are okay, just make sure you give good answers for those. For question 3, we've got a ray of light hitting a mirror. The first thing we have to do is draw the normal, so we would be drawing a line there at 90 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to put my protractor with the center of it where that ray of light is hitting the mirror, and I'm going to line that zero line up with my mirror. Then I can put a wee mark at 90 and mark on the normal. Now the normal generally will be drawn with a dashed line. Okay, so that is my normal. I just wanted to help you out with that one, then that'll make the rest of the question a little bit easier. Okay, then you're going to use that rule about how the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection to figure out which one of those dots that's going to go through. Over on to 68, there's some more questions for you to do. So these questions are based on that very first bit of the reflection notes that Mrs. Turner went over with you. So starting on page 61, if you look back at your notes to help you fill out those. And then over on page 69, there's more questions. So we've got a lot of questions to do today. Let's have a little look and see if there's any awkward ones I need to give you any advice on here. Okay, so the first one, just make sure you're reading the question carefully. It is based on that law of reflection, where the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. So this little graph is just plotting those, and it's asking which ones should be repeated. So there must be some points in this that are wrong, and you'll need to use your knowledge of the fact that the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection to figure out which points are wrong. Okay? Okay. I think the rest of those are straightforward enough. Let's see question 2. Okay, so this one here is like true or false, and these angles here are referring over to this diagram. Again, law of reflection. And then question 3 is quite a good wee one. So we've got a torch shining in here. These are all double-sided mirrors. So you're going to have to follow the path of the light ray and figure out which side of this box that it's going to come out of. So you'll draw all your lines on here, and then your answer here will either be A, B, C, or D. Okay, so give me a shout if you need help with any of those whenever you're working on them, and make sure you submit them soon enough. Okay, bye.